Hey, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Rippah Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart every episode of the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast, so there are potentially spoilers ahead.
This week, we're talking about Season 1, Episode 6, Lost Girls. In this episode, we see Damon and Vicki. He kills all of Vicki's friends and turns Vicki into a vampire. That's pretty much their story. Stefan tells Elena that he's a vampire finally and gives her the whole history, or at least the start of the whole history with 1864. So we get a lot of flashbacks this episode. And then we also see that the council, Logan Fell and Liz Forbes, are right on Damon's trail. They're finding these bodies, they're figuring it out, they know exactly what's going on.
But
so
in a much more real sense, they have no idea what's going on.
That's true. Yeah, in a much more real sense. You can tell they've never interacted with a vampire that they know of. They have no idea what they're doing.
They have no clue. Liz just refers to them as it.
Yeah.
Not they.
She has no clue.
It's.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of really good stuff this episode. I love a flashback episode.
I do love the flashbacks, especially because this is the first time we get to see Katherine.
Yes, first time we get to see Katherine. First time we get a flashback. And it takes us to the very start, 1864, where it all began for the Salvatore brothers. So, exciting.
Yeah, only uphill from there.
Yeah.
And downhill. Roller coaster.
Yeah, lots of downhill, because we also get a lot of vampire first in this one. We see our first vampire in transition.
Yep.
We see the first... We know before this that they have to wear the rings for the sunlight, but we see for the first time what it's like when they don't, because you literally, Damon is sticking his hand in front of the sun, and you hear the sizzling, cracking noise when he sticks his hand.
It starts to glow a little bit. Yeah,
so we start to actually see, like, this is like, it will fry them.
It will kill them.
Yeah, this is not a Twilight situation.
Yeah, no, they're not just sparkling.
No. So yeah, we get some good vampire stuff in that regard. And we get, I guess that's it, maybe, for the highlights. Just Stefan, Damon, when they meet Katherine, and the big vampire stuff. Yeah. We finally are getting the truth out of Stefan.
Yes, finally starting to put together how they came to be vampires, their backstory, but really just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, tip of the iceberg. We'll talk more about Katherine as that goes. But I do want to know, we watched... Nina Dobrev's Glamour interview before this, and she said that her first episodes filming Katherine were some of her favorite because she got to do the 1864 costuming, and that made me really excited to watch this one, to be like, it just is like beautiful costumes.
I mean, not even just Katherine, I mean, don't get me wrong, she looks amazing, but also Stefan and Damon.
So good.
1864 was their year.
They really worked on them.
They were in their just beautiful era. They looked so good.
Their pure innocent baby era.
That's true. Yeah, they hadn't been like you know Dorian Grayed by the by all of the horrible things they've done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Damon is fighting in the Civil War, so
that's true. Actually,
we'll ignore that for now. Yeah, we'll ignore for now that he's in the Confederacy.
But he abandons.
He does abandon. So on principle,
headcanon. It's on principle.
I think they say that it is, but I'm sure it's less political and more. He just wants to be a little wanderer following Katherine around, but whatever.
Probably.
We'll ignore that. We'll ignore that for the beautiful costumes.
Yeah.
So lots of great things, and we do pick up right where we left off.
Yes.
With the last episode. Stefan's rushing out the door to try to go kill Damon, and Elena shows up at the Salvatore House and says, "What are you?" And
he finally says it.
He finally says
it.
They kind of go back and forth for a minute, and it's kind of this, like, the fact that you're here, you already know, so you say it.
Yeah, they're dancing around it for a minute.
But she stays pretty, like, refusal to
acknowledge. She's saying,
like, you say it.
You tell me.
And he does say it. And she runs away scared.
Yeah, rightfully so. Any normal person should,
any
probably.
Any sane person that values their life would.
Yeah. So she runs away. And then Stefan does the ultimate, like, I don't know. It's just so weird. So unhinged. He just appears in her bedroom.
Yeah, he follows her home. Which, I mean, I suppose we could justify that, like, he can't let the secret get exposed. He doesn't want her to be afraid of him.
Right.
But it's such a line getting crossed. Like,
it's so bad. She's obviously afraid. She's obviously freaking out. And he just comes into her, not even to her house. Like, he comes into her bedroom, I guess through the window.
Yeah, because it's open.
Yeah. And also, like, she gets pinned up against the wall at some point.
Yeah, because she tries to go out the door and he, like, stops
Closes
her.
it, yeah.
And she's, like, the shot there is, like, so sad. She's, like, sobbing against the door. And he's just standing there, like, he's like, don't be afraid of me. Don't tell my
secret. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good look on Stefan.
No.
It's a good look for Elena that she actually values her life in that way. And I actually think it's really interesting that the show chose to do that, because one thing that I always remember when watching the first season of Vampire Diaries is it came out the same year, or a year right after Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
I think Twilight was 2008 and the first season of Vampire Diaries was 2009. So it was, like, pretty, I think, reactive to that. And of course in Twilight, Bella's reaction is like, okay, you won't hurt me. It's okay. Like, I'm not afraid of you. And he's like, you should be. I could kill you. Which I'm actually really shocked that Stefan doesn't react that way, because I think Stefan in a lot of ways is similar to Edward and being like, you know, this poor tortured man who's like, I don't want to hurt you. You're like, I
could, and I know it.
Yeah, but he doesn't do that. He's like,
no,
don't be afraid of me. I would never hurt you. Please don't break up with me.
Yeah, don't leave me.
Yeah, so it's so weird that he does take up that stance, which I do think it is, again, like, she shouldn't have to live her life in fear. It is reasonable for him to be like, I'm gonna, like, tell her I'm not gonna hurt her. She doesn't have to be afraid of me. And of course she is afraid because there are dead bodies popping up everywhere, which are not him.
Yes.
So.
And they do talk about that a little bit more.
They do, yeah.
And he does reveal to her at this point, this is a little bit later on, but he does reveal to her that it's Damon who's doing these killings, not him. And I think she does start to trust him a little bit more and realizes, okay, he actually probably won't hurt me.
Yeah.
Damon, on the other hand.
Questionable. Which it takes a day. And at that night, when she's still kind of mad at him, doesn't really want anything to do with him, Damon, of course, is on the prowl and has threatened to kill Elena.
Yep.
So Stefan stands outside her house all night, just protecting.
Just waiting.
Which is very sweet that, like, he was willing to do that, and at the chance that Damon, like, really would go kill her.
Yeah, especially because he'd been invited in.
Yeah. But at least he didn't pull the Edward of just going in her room and watching her sleep.
Yeah, watching her sleep.
Which I suppose Damon kind of did that already. So, but Edward, I think, did it all night, and Damon just kind of, as far as we know, briefly.
I just saw you.
He was passing through, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just go see if she's
I guess okay. I'll just go see what's up."
Yeah, might as well. But yeah, so then after the night, she makes it through the night.
Thank God. Yeah.
And they meet up at the grill.
Yep.
And that's when we finally get, like, a lot of vampire information there as well. She kind of goes down the list of, like, well, I know you eat garlic.
Yes.
And
you don't burn, or you do burn in the sun.
Well, she says the sun's not an issue, and he explains the rings. And she says mirrors. He says, like, it's a hoax or whatever.
It's not real.
Crucifixes, decoration.
Fine.
Yeah. They go through the whole mythological list, which is actually, I think, really nice as a fan of the show, kind of getting those answers, because there are so many versions of vampire lore, and literally every single show, movie, book, any sort of, like, material that you could get about vampires is completely different about what the rules are.
Yeah.
So it's always nice when you do get into a new vampire world to actually know, like, okay, here's the rules within this world, and here's how it plays.
Yes.
And the Vampire Diaries has lots of, like, unique rules.
Yeah.
Like, I love the mind compulsion.
I do love
things
that.
like that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they did keep the standard stuff, like burning in the sun.
But yeah, the vampire lore is definitely built out a lot more in this episode. And yeah, Stefan tells all of this stuff to Elena and reassures her. And I think his openness is also really reassuring.
Yes.
And he is very forthcoming.
Yeah.
And he ultimately, like, after the grill, he takes her to where the old Salvatore House was, which is, they go there because he buried Damon's ring. Yeah, which I love. I just think that's a nice little touch. But
it's nice because it ties all of the plot points in this episode together too. Like, you're kind of going through a lot of the episode watching Stefan and Elena, Damon and Vicki, and then through Stefan and Elena's story, you're getting flashbacks. And then by the very end of Stefan and Elena's, we're tied back into the Damon storyline. So it's a nice, like, roundabout way to bring everything together nicely.
Yeah, and everyone is on the same page by the end of the episode. So it's sort of starting to get to that point where
I always love this is why I love season 2 and season 3 the most, is because everyone's on the same page. Like, there might be, like, sort of different storylines going on, but they're almost always for the same goal or for some sort of main plot point. which I prefer. I'm like, I would rather just kind of be following one thing. It's kind of, not that it's difficult at all. It's like, it's a teen show. But like, it's just more entertaining, I think, to be like, okay, we're all working towards a common goal. When one of the plot points is just, I'm trying to figure out if vampires exist, it's like, okay, we already know.
Yeah. Also, obviously, we'll talk about this later on, but it usually just makes more sense to have everybody on the same page. Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, I will say my least favorite trope in any form of media, whether it is books, TV, or movies, is miscommunication. I hate, like, the miscommunication trope where it's like, if two characters in two separate storylines have the two pieces of information, and if they just put them together, they'd have the story.
Yes.
But they just don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's how sometimes plots like this can feel. They're not, Vampires isn't at that point currently.
No.
But that's where, like, you could see that sort of happening in this episode if by the end of it they hadn't come together.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, Stefan and Elena are working on this whole protect the town thing while Damon's killing Vicki, and then Jeremy's trying to deal with, it's like, you gotta kind of, like, get the answers all in the right place so that you can just move the story ahead.
Yeah.
Like, I hate when it's the, like, wondering plot line. That's not fun for anybody.
No, it's definitely not. And I do like that, again, this is a big reveal episode. Everyone's on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see the flashbacks.
Yes.
Which, love the flashbacks.
Love the flashbacks.
Yeah, at the old Salvatore House is where they start to do all of the flashbacks. There's a little bit before, but that's when they really get into it. And we finally see Katherine and Damon and Stefan. They play football.
Yeah.
And I just love, like, all of her scenes. Obviously, Katherine is very playful, especially in 1864.
Yeah.
And I just love all their scenes together. But also, I'm thinking this whole time while I'm watching this, and, you know, Stefan is saying she was, like, the most beautiful person I ever met and all of these things. Tell Elena that they are identical. I'm begging you. Please.
I thought the same thing. Stefan is a shady bitch in this episode.
Yes.
Sorry for my language, but he is. Like, how can you...
No, he really is.
Like, it's one thing when Damon in the kitchen in episode 3 was saying... she was very beautiful, a lot like you in that department.
Yeah.
To Stefan, like, being like, well, I'm a vampire, and here's the story of me and my brother in 1864, and this girl that I loved who was beautiful. Like,
just say
you're
it.
already giving her the psycho, crazy, supernatural side of things. Give her the whole story.
Honestly, it would probably soften the blow if she learned this all at the same time. It'd be like, oh, that's one aspect of this wild story.
Well, and I also think he could soften it by, like, saying, like, she looks a lot like you. Like, he doesn't know the doppelganger thing. Yeah, he has that one photo of Katherine from 1864. I mean, I guess he could say he probably remembers her well enough to remember that she looks exactly like her. But you could at least say, like, you have a striking resemblance to her. Like,
yes.
He could at least get that across. And the fact that he doesn't reveals that he knows that it's wrong.
Yes. No, it becomes so obvious. Stefan knows, like, she would not react well to this information.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to be doing. It's a weird relationship to be pursuing. Like, yeah, I don't know. And it only gets weirder, that context, like how he followed her all summer. We'll get to that later on when he says that. But I don't know. Yeah, this is just one of those situations where as a rewatcher, you're like, Stefan, you're digging a hole for yourself because
totally,
obviously the reveal goes poorly.
Yeah, because it's not even a reveal. She finds it.
Just be open and honest. That's all she wants.
Yeah. It goes to show that, like, even after finding out that he's a vampire and she's completely terrified of him, she still texts him to go to the grill to meet up.
Yeah.
And then she shows up wearing the necklace that he gave her, which at this point she doesn't even know it has vervain in it and protects her. Yeah. She's just wearing it as a symbol of him and, like, their relationship.
Yes.
And she gets called out about that in season 3, I believe, when he's off the rails with Klaus. Yeah. You know, I think Caroline is the one that says it, like, you're still wearing the necklace. And it is because it's a symbol of Stefan. It's like...
No, I'm just kidding. We'll get there.
But it is at first a symbol of Stefan and her love to Stefan, which we could get into the whole symbolism of, too. When she becomes a vampire, she's no longer wearing it.
Yes.
But yes, before that, it is...
Well, it would burn her, but...
Of course. But her whole, like... But exactly, that's the thing. It's like the realistic reason why she can't wear it also speaks to the symbolic version of, like... There's a lot to be said about the necklace representing Stefan and Elena's love and, like, where they're at in their relationship. Because it also goes missing for a little bit in season 2. So, I don't know. There's a lot of symbolism to the necklace. And the fact that she's wearing it now, I think, means she's fine. Like, she's going to accept
Right. She's
what's
still
going
open
on.
to Stefan.
If she had showed up to the girl with the necklace off, it would have been like, he messed up.
Yeah. If she had shown up and ripped it off and thrown it in the road.
Yeah, just set it on the table, didn't say anything, and got up and left.
Just sliding across the table.
Would have sent a message. But no, she comes wearing it.
She does.
Clearly she's at least willing to listen.
Yes.
And listen she does.
I agree.
Because he gives his whole flashback background spiel.
Minus the fact that they're doppelgangers, but whatever.
He omits some pieces, but the broad strokes are there.
We are just scratching the surface. I'll give him like a slight bit of a benefit of the doubt and say, this is really just, we just start to see a little bit of Catherine's relationship with Stefan and Damon.
Yeah, we see that Stefan meets her the moment she shows up. She gets out of the carriage and he's right there.
Yes.
They immediately meet and they immediately seem interested in each other. We then get some more of it later as it goes, and Damon also gets involved in that situation as he does. But it's so sad watching the start of these flashbacks because you get the sense of what they're like pre-Katherine. She hasn't really... I think by the end of this episode, we're like, okay, she's got her claws in both of them.
Yeah.
But the start, she hasn't yet, obviously. It's Stefan just meets her. And Stefan introduces the flashbacks by saying the Salvatore brothers, the best of friends.
I know. I love that line.
So sweet, but so sad.
Yeah.
Because, like, really, by the end of it, they're put in motion to not be. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Katherine has put in motion that they will not be. That is not a title that will remain.
Yeah. Even though, I mean, not that she's really considerate of their feelings, it is sort of revealed in the flashbacks that Katherine's plan is for the three of them to all be together.
Yeah.
Granted, that's with them keeping the secret of each other from each other. Yeah. But
she's definitely just toying with them, which we don't get Damon's side of the story at all in this one. So that's one to look forward to when we actually get his side of it. And he does allude to that when he stops by the house and talks to Elena. He says, I'm sure he didn't tell you all of it or something like that. He says, like, you know, I'm sure you're getting a very filtered version of the story.
The short Stefan version.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, they do still get some good moments. They play football, and
Love
Katherine
that.
comes out to play. And like you said, she's very goofy. She's very, like, playful,
She's
flirty.
so playful, flirty, yes.
And it's so great as a Nina lover. Great episode.
Yes. Oh, my God. She's so talented.
She's so talented. I mean, it's something I think about all the time in the Vampire Diaries fandom, that people hate Elena Gilbert, people hate Catherine Pierce, people love both of them. You know, hate one, love the other, whatever it might be, but everyone unanimously agrees that Nina Dobrev is fantastic.
She is playing those characters, like, so differently, so specifically. They don't even read as both being Nina Dobrev. Like, that's how well she's playing them. Like, this is very clearly Katherine, this is very clearly Elena. And you never, I mean, they obviously switch roles and go back and forth at times, but it's always so obvious who is who, and, like, just in these subtle ways. It's just so well done. Yeah.
So, even when they start switching places, and, like, sometimes it's just, even Katherine when she's dressed up in full Elena clothes, it's, like, something about, like, the just slightest features in her face you can tell. And that's only 2 of the characters she plays. She plays even more than that.
Yeah, she
in
plays
the long
more.
Run.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it's definitely 4. I can
definitely
think of 4. I don't know if there's a 5th in there, but yeah, she's
4, but
she's crazy for that.
She really is. She's incredible.
So talented. And this is the first episode that we get where she's really playing both.
Yeah.
Of course, still very separate, the flashbacks versus the present day.
Yes.
But we're getting the flavor of it, and we're already seeing that while Katherine looks exactly like Elena, in a lot of ways, she's just not alike her. Especially after, like, the playful football scenes, we see her and Stefan have spent the night together, and she's getting done up in the morning, and he's really freaking out, and she just starts compelling him like it's nothing.
Yes.
And that's when you're like, okay, Katherine is a completely different, like, ball game than Elena.
Yes.
Elena can be playful, but, like, she can't be, like, vindictive like that.
No. They're playful in very different ways. Elena is playful in, like, a fun, light way. Yeah. Katherine is playful in the I'm playing with your mind way. That's my play toy. Yeah.
The way that a cat would play with a mouse is the way that Katherine is
pretty
playful.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically...
Yeah. Yeah. I also like the parallel of just them showing how Katherine treated Stefan and how Stefan is treating Elena when they independently find out, and just those two parallels of, like, there are two very different ways that this story can go and how you can make this reveal. Not that Stefan's is perfect, but he's not compelling away her memory and being like, it'll be fine.
You can't tell every girl you meet that you're a vampire. Like, that's just not gonna work. So, like, at some point, like, there does have to be the secrets there, but, you know, he at least does not compel her. Yes. He's not making her spend the night and, like, feeding off of her. Like, he's making a lot of the right choices in a lot of the ways that Katherine at least didn't with him.
Yes. Related to that, though, there is a moment when Stefan is explaining the necklace and what the necklace does to Elena. And he says it has vervain in it, and it's to protect her from Damon. And he says, but also from me. Stefan, what?
See, this is what I was saying before about, like, he feels like he'd have that energy, which he does. He says it right there, where it's like, I am dangerous. You need to be protected from me. Yeah. But why with compulsion? That's a thing you can control,
Compulsion you can control. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Easy.
It would have been fair to say, like, you know, you shouldn't be around me because it's not safe, because obviously I have really bad hunger issues, because every time you lightly cut yourself in the kitchen, I'm, like, going, like, into feeding mode. Yeah. But no, the worry is I might compel you, even though I'm not even strong enough to do it.
Interesting, Stefan.
It's just weird.
Telling on himself. Self-report.
Which I guess... I don't know, still not as bad as Katherine, who's really self-reporting on the fact that she's fully just going to play with both of them as her toys, and that's, like, the plan from the get-go, that she's just like, all three of us will be together happily forever. Like,
just having a good time. You guys will still be keeping the secret from each other, maybe, or they'll be compelled to go along with it.
For like 140 years. Yeah, where we really are in 140 years is Stefan's trying to date her doppelganger. Yep. And Damon is just freaking out.
Damon is off the rails because he's obsessed with her and whatever.
Off the rails is really a good definition for him in this episode. Again, bad episode to be a Damon apologist. He's still making really bad choices. He's undeniably the villain of this situation. He's not doing good things at all.
No.
We see it pick up where he left off in the last one. He appeared in the cemetery where Vicki and the townies, is that what we should call them?
I guess so. Just locals.
Yeah, the locals, where they were all hanging out. And, of course, he feeds on them. Yep. And we see it pick up where he did kill them, and now he's burning their bodies.
Yes, because I think he's realized it's not sustainable to just have all of these animal attacks.
Yeah, not if he wants to stay.
Yeah, not if he wants to stay, which he has to. We'll get into that more. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, he burns the bodies, and then we sort of see... After he burns the bodies, we see Vicky's still alive, and he's like, you just don't want to die, do you? So, yeah, Damon takes Vicki back to her place, and they have... I think one of the most fun scenes of the entire season, maybe show.
It's a great scene.
But
it's terrible.
Context bad.
Just
bad. Isolated scene.
Montage
very good.
Great. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Context bad. Montage fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's pick up with the bad first, because the bad is pretty bad. He uses the fact that she's like a drug addict and compels her to just think of blood as a drug. And she's like, can I get another hit of that blood? It's so good.
See, I don't think he's explicitly trying to compel her to think that. I think he's just compelling her to think like she enjoyed it. And maybe in her mind.
She's equating it then to like a drug where she's getting
does he know anything about her? I don't know if he would know she's like a drug addict or
I think based on finding her at the cemetery with all these other people like getting high, it's like probably like inferred.
Guess, but I don't think there was any like planning on his part. But
yeah, well, I don't know what his plan was, because he brings her back and she's just like bleeding out on the couch, and he's like, "Don't get blood on the couch." He's just like whatever about it. Yeah. So I don't know what his plan was really. I don't know, like if he was just gonna like let her just kind of like be there as a blood bag. I'm not really sure.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Just kind of keep her around as like a live blood bag.
Yeah, and then he realized he was bored and was like, let's
change things up
whole
a little
thing.
bit. Yeah,
so they have a great dance sequence. They have a whole little party.
If you're a Damon fan,
it's great.
Again, context bad, but the party scene amazing.
The context is so bad, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, party scene, great. Then they, of course, go up to Stefan's room and just trash the place.
Throwing everything around. I love it.
It's so fun. It's like, it's exactly fits Damon's personality to be like, this is the stuff I don't like about Damon, where he's, like, compelling Vicki to enjoy the blood or whatever he is doing and using her and is, of course, going to end up killing her. But the fun is where he's just like, I'm mad at Stefan, so I'm going to trash his room. That's the Damon that I like. Yeah. That's like a fun side of things.
The harmless, destructive
Yes.
Damon, not like the ruining people's lives, destructive Damon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so fun. I love the trashing. The song that plays is great.
Love that song.
I just love the whole sequence. But then he just so casually is like, you know what would really help you, Vicki? Death.
Yeah.
Snap.
It's also so dramatic because they're having this big party sequence and then it immediately comes down where they're slow dancing to 21 Guns by Green Day.
21 Guns by Green Day. So random.
So random. And she's sobbing, talking about her family and how bad her life is.
Yeah. Damon snaps her neck. And of course, Vicki then wakes up and Vicki is transitioning into being a vampire. And this is the first time we sort of see this because...
It is the first time we see it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we've sort of talked about it a little bit before, which is what I was thinking about.
Damon vaguely explains it to Caroline.
Yeah, he gives her, just the overview. But this is where we see, how you're going to feel, what it's going to be like.
Yes, the stuff that Damon kind of left out of the vague explanation is how actually really, like, uncomfortable and painful it is to go through.
Yes, yeah, it's so painful.
Vicki, she wakes up from the transition, or she wakes up in transition, and she doesn't feel good. She just wants out of there. And Damon's kind of like, not a good idea.
Yeah.
But she goes anyway. And, of course, he drops the clue, which she takes to go to Jeremy's house. He's just trying to wreak havoc, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Classic Damon. So she does do that. And she goes to Jeremy's. And Jeremy just thinks she's, like, high. Like, super, like he's just, like... She shows up, first of all, with sunglasses on in the middle of the day. Like,
yeah, I love that for her. And hungry.
Know. Yeah, and super hungry. She's going through his... fridge and she's crying and she's freaking out and Jeremy has to call Matt because he doesn't understand what's going on.
I know. Oh, the whole just Matt being over there, that whole little sequence of him trying to help Vicki and all of those sorts of things. I'm like, I just feel for them so much more.
Yeah.
I don't know, this first half of the first season is a very sympathetic time for Matt.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It's just so sad.
And it only gets worse.
It only gets worse. And also it had me thinking, I was like, he doesn't even know that he's already had his, like, last words with her alive.
That's true, actually.
Technically. I mean, she's sort of in between right now, but...
Yeah.
Just sad. Very sad. Anyway, that was just a little thing. It's like, I do feel for Matt in these first 2 episodes.
Yeah. And going back to what we were saying earlier about, like, miscommunication, and if all the plot points aren't in the same place, you kind of go nowhere.
Yes.
And they would go nowhere with that. Jeremy and Matt would have no idea at this point what to do with Vicki.
No.
But luckily, Stefan and Elena come back from their day off adventure.
Yeah.
And scientist Stefan, as I personally like to call him, because for whatever reason, that man is always trying to, like, get up in people's faces and observe little things. And, like, I don't know what it is that he's always like, let me see, I'll figure it out in 2 seconds, which he somehow does.
Yeah, there are a lot of moments throughout the show, almost like Elena, where Stefan is just very acutely aware of what is going on.
Yeah.
He immediately picks up on that Vicki is transitioning.
He looks at Vicki for 2 seconds. She's in transition. Don't know how he knew that, but...
Yeah, I don't know how he picked up on it so well.
Because if it's like, her pupils are, like, dilated, why can't that be drugs? Oh, she's like, whatever, why can't that be drugs? I'm sure he, like, put 2 and 2 together also with the circumstance of it being Damon.
I think that must be what it is.
That's what's the giveaway. Is like, this is just screams Damon revenge move. He couldn't kill Elena, so he did this. So I think that's really what he puts together. But, of course, that really gets this storyline going of... Jeremy and Matt still don't know that that's what's going on, which is so sad for poor little Jeremy. But Elena at least knows now. And so when Vicki goes and just runs out of the house, she just disappears. She sort of tells Stefan to go after her, because Stefan's like, I can track her. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know what he can do. What are Stefan's skills? I don't know.
I guess just his senses are heightened, so he can hear
but,
her.
Yeah, I was going to say hear, maybe. I don't know.
Also, it's revealed in the next episode that she doesn't really... Well, actually, I don't know if you would even have it in transition, but she doesn't have vamp speed or anything yet.
Oh, that's true.
So he could quickly just catch up with her.
That's true. I didn't think about that. I was kind of imagining her vamp speeding out of there, but yeah, she doesn't learn it until the next one.
And you see she just does like a regular person run.
Yeah.
They're not doing the weird speed up thing that they do sometimes.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have vamp speed yet, so I think that's how he's tracking her. He's
that
just
makes
faster.
sense. He probably could actually hear her and like just follow her.
Yeah.
Or I think really how he finds her is he just kind of infers where she would be going, but you know, whatever. That's another point, I guess.
Yeah. Well, because she leaves after they hear on the TV that those people were found dead in the cemetery.
Yeah,
so he probably also knows.
Yes.
Of course she'd want to go back to the cemetery and...
Yeah, where it happened.
Yeah.
And where she was last alive.
Yeah, where she was last alive, yeah.
Yeah, but it does take him till night to find her. In the meantime, he leaves Elena alone at the house with Jeremy, where the big bad Damon shows up at the door.
Yes.
And just so funny how Elena's like freaking out, and she's like, Jeremy, go upstairs.
Yes.
Jeremy's like, oh, rolls his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
She's
so
goes.
Annoying. He does go.
He just goes.
He's like, I don't want to be here anyway.
I'm not dealing with this, yeah.
Yeah. Which Damon, of course, correctly infers that Elena knows. And again, he hints that she probably didn't get the whole story anyway. Yes. I don't remember why he even stopped by, though.
I think he was looking for Stefan.
Oh, yeah, he was. For his ring.
Yes. Yeah, he still doesn't have his ring at this point. And it's finally, I guess, nighttime now.
It is night, yeah. So he could come. Actually.
Yeah, so he could actually get there. Yeah. I noticed something Damon said in this that I wasn't really sure what he meant. He says something to Elena about, like, he hasn't killed her yet because it's not part of his agenda.
Yes.
What is the agenda?
You don't know the agenda?
I don't remember the specific thing that he's thinking of. Like,
what are you talking about?
I mean, I know where the show and the season goes.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, is there like a specific role that she plays?
She doesn't play a specific...
Is he just distracting Stefan?
She doesn't play a specific part in the role, so...
Okay,
I think
it's just more generally for his
I think
plan?
The writers wanted to allude to the fact that, like...
He has a plan.
There is something going on.
I wasn't sure if I missed, like, a specific thing. No, I know, obviously, the rest of
the big plan. The rest happening. I was going to say, if you don't remember that, we got a problem with this podcast. If you don't remember the basic plot of season 1 of Vampire Diaries.
No, I do remember the general plot.
But no, I mean, that's I think, also what's going on with Elena is he's trying to say, like...
Yeah.
Oh, I could kill you at any point.
Yes.
But realistically, I don't think he can.
He never, no.
So he's trying to blame the plan, but she has no part in that.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something specific.
No. I think that's really just the writers trying to, like, hint to us, like,
yes,
there's a plan going on. There's a scheme to follow here.
Yes.
He's not doing anything productive towards any of that right now.
But just know it's coming. It's coming.
The only thing so far is the necklace. We don't know yet why he's getting the necklace.
Oh, Emily's necklace.
Yeah, that's the one piece of the puzzle I think that they've actually introduced.
Yeah, that's true. He has kind of alluded to that. And I think he did say at one point, like, he's around for something greater.
Yeah.
But also in this scene, Damon and Elena are talking, and I was also just thinking back to all of the flashbacks and everything. Another reason Stefan should have just told her that she's the doppelganger, that they look alike, is I was thinking this whole scene... I'm surprised Damon didn't just say, oh, so, like, you look just like Katherine.
Yeah.
Like, he could so easily bring it up, one, because he would assume she knew.
Yeah.
Because Stefan should have told her.
Yeah.
Or two, to
mess
with her and mess with Stefan. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if she didn't know, it would be great for him to drop that on
her.
her.
Exactly. Yeah, he'd love to get that reveal, so...
Yeah, I kind of don't know why he doesn't do that.
I don't know. Maybe he's saving it. He's like, it'll be bad whenever it happens, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And he probably does just assume the longer he waits, like...
The worse it'll be.
The worse it'll be.
Probably true.
Which I was going to say, maybe he doesn't have, like, a way to, like, really hammer in that fact. But he knows. He saw in this episode that Stefan has the photo of Katherine. So, yeah, I don't know why he doesn't use that. But it ends up benefiting him eventually.
It does.
When
it does
she finds
benefit him in the end. So good for him.
Really works out there.
Yeah.
Also, why not tell her? Because of the fact that, like, Nina and Ian, in no matter what form, have so much chemistry.
Yes.
Katherine and Damon, they do pretty well. And then Elena and Damon, even in this scene where she's terrified of him, they just have such great energy between them.
They do.
It's like, it's impossible to ignore. And I guess Stefan's only seen them together in episode 2 when they first met.
Yes.
Oh, in episode 3 at the dinner party thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's like really seen much of anything, but wouldn't you know that Damon's like going to... History repeats itself. Like, wouldn't you be aware of that?
Yeah. Also, have you met Damon?
Have you met Damon?
Have you met him at all? Like, I don't know.
He just really did not think that
like,
through.
It's fine. Yeah. Whatever.
Which it's not fine. No. So Damon leaves, and we still haven't got back to Vicki and Stefan in the woods because the council is truly on the trail now.
Oh my god, yes. They're close. They're closing in. We see Logan. Well, this gives Logan the gun with reveal wooden bullets, so they know. That's the one thing they do know. Yeah. But yeah, she just sends Logan out into the woods alone to look for him with the compass.
With a great tool. We do finally see the watch gets turned into the compass in this episode. Yes. I don't know if it's super clear as a first-time viewer what's happening. We, of course, know what's happening. But he kind of just goes out with this compass, and they don't really show what it's doing. I think you can kind of hear it flicking around, but it's just not clear what he's got.
Yeah, and he says it's pointing towards something.
Yeah, so at this point, you're not really sure what it is, why they're using it, why you just go out into the woods at night alone with it and think, this should be enough. I don't know. Yeah. Clearly, the council knows nothing about vampires. And clearly, Liz Forbes knows nothing about, I don't know, safety or, general, police work.
No, she really doesn't. She shows over and over again. She is just...
She's a small town cop.
She's a small town cop.
She probably would have been fine without all the vampire stuff going on. She probably would have been, what's the worst that's going to happen? Some stuff.
We'll table Liz.
We'll table Liz. But the vampires are involved. In the situation, you're probably thinking of vampires are involved. Otherwise, probably would have been small town drama, whatever. She probably could have been fine. But as soon as vampires get involved, she's way out of the waters there.
Yes. She's
got no hope of bringing that situation back around.
No.
So anyway, we get to the last ending of this sort of whole saga, and Stefan's found Vicki. She's sitting at the crypt, the little family tomb or whatever, where all of her friends died last night.
Yes.
Fun, casual things. She's crying. She and Stefan talk about what's going to happen to her. If she doesn't feed, she's going to die. Yeah. If she does feed and she transitions, it's a lot. Your personality is going to change. And I don't know if you really get a sense as to what choice she wants to make. I think she kind of says, she doesn't want to die, but she also says she doesn't want to be a vampire.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're really left knowing what she's going to do in that moment.
Not 100%, but I mean, also just based on Stefan's reaction in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I always just infer it as she is kind of accepting. She's in that, those very first few stages of accepting that she's going to die. Because also Stefan basically poses it as, this is what you need to let happen. He just says, you're going to fade. He makes it sound very gentle.
Yes, he does.
So, I mean, he just makes it sound like the better choice and, the choice you should pick.
Yeah, he does. Because also, Vicky's only real look at what a vampire could be is Damon. And I think she's pretty, obvious in not wanting that. And I find it so interesting because, I mean, we've seen so many characters who are really better off as vampires and make vampire, life seem like a good thing. Mm-hmm. But I think it's pretty clear, and it'll only become more clear in the next one, that, Vicky is not a person that can survive as a vampire.
No.
Unfortunately, I think any person who really deals with, addiction or any sort of, issues with control or their mental health. I mean, that's a big thing in originals and in legacies.
Yeah.
Of people with mental health issues turning into vampires can have...
It can be way worse.
Really bad. If you're bipolar as a human, you will be bipolar as a vampire, and it will be heightened to the max. That's something we see over and over again in every iteration of this show in this world. And that's, unfortunately, Vicki is the first one of that, of, a human with a drug addiction as a vampire is unfortunately going to have some real serious control issues.
But yeah, it's not entirely clear And Stefan and Vicki are about to go home, and she's gonna, make her decision. Who knows what will happen, but that's about to happen. And then Stefan gets shot, and we see that it's Logan Fell, who's just out in the woods shooting and hunting vampires.
As you do.
Yeah, he's just out there hunting, and he shoots Stefan, which is such a gamble.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily know.
Well, he does. The compass is pointing right at him.
Oh, yeah. I guess he does have the compass. It could
still
be Vicki.
It could be someone behind him for all he knows.
Yeah.
He kind of just goes for it. Which I think, too, he hasn't seen Stefan. He might have seen Stefan at the car wash, maybe. But chances are he probably hadn't. So he kind of just was like, well, I know Vicki Donovan. She was the girl that's missing.
Yeah.
And then this guy, I don't know. So I'm just going to shoot him. Might as well.
I guess. The other thing that just really gives me pause here is also no one knows how the compass works, and we find out later on how it does work. Mm-hmm. But they're just relying on this compass that they have no idea what the science behind it is.
Jonathan Gilbert invented it.
Yeah, they're just like, Jonathan Gilbert was a genius ahead of his time. No one understands how to replicate it or what's going on.
In 1864.
Yeah, in 1864, he figured out the essence of a vampire and how to detect it. Yeah, so it just seems to me, even if the compass is pointing at him, it's still such a gamble. They've never used it before.
Yeah.
At least not Logan.
That's true. It could be pointing at the equator, and he just sees a random man, and he's like, I'm taking him out.
Yeah, he's like, shoot. Just shoots him.
He doesn't wait for a second. It is pretty wild, but he gets his comeback for that. Literally the second he shoots Stefan, Damon appears out of nowhere and kills him.
Saves him.
Literally feeds on Logan, and then he immediately goes and pulls the bullet out of Stefan.
Yeah.
So yeah, Logan really gets he deserves in that moment for just taking the risk of shooting a random person.
A random person, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that's great, because then of course while Damon is fishing his ring out of Stefan's pocket, and they're having their little brother moment.
Yeah.
Vicki goes and just feeds on Logan's dead body.
Oh, yeah. And then she's completed her transition.
Yep. Stefan kind of yells out at her, and she just runs away. She disappears.
Yeah. Damon gives a little oops.
Yeah. Oh, man, my bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, perfectly placed there.
Yeah.
And of course, Sheriff Forbes, nowhere to be seen.
No.
Don't know what's going on. She shows up too little, too late.
She let Logan do it all himself, whatever.
He's not even a cop.
No, he's a newscaster. He's just a random townie.
I guess it's because it's not technically through the cops. It's through the, Founders Council, which he's a fel. That makes him legally allowed to operate a gun.
Yes,
just shoot
that does make him allowed to
just
shoot people in Mystic Falls, I guess. Yeah.
Suppose it's technically the South. I don't know.
Well, that's true. A different world.
A
different world.
Yes. So, of course, then, now that whole situation has happened, Stefan has to go home to Elena and tell her what's happened,
everything
that Vicky's in transition, and it's really hard for Elena to take all of this. I think this episode especially really stuck out to me as one, we talked about this already a little bit, that it just is shocking that Elena stays with Stefan much farther than this moment.
Yes.
Because I think this especially, her realizing how detrimental all of the vampire stuff is to their lives,
and how dangerous it will be.
How dangerous it is. How she's gonna have to start lying to everyone. She says that. What do I tell Matt? What do I tell Jeremy? And Stefan says, we'll make up a story, and she says, we'll lie. Yeah. She can't do that. And you really start to see how painful this whole situation is for her, and how it just is so against Elena's entire personality, her entire character. And so she breaks up with Stefan.
Yes. Yeah, that's where we leave off the episode. She decides, and good for her, honestly,
good for her
saying, I can't do this.
Yeah, and I think it is the right choice. The wrong choice is that they get back together, and then all this stuff just keeps, escalating. And I did think about that at some point, it was unavoidable. She's the doppelganger. At a certain point, she
was always going to be brought into the fold.
She was always going to be brought into the fold. And, in season 2, as all of this stuff really starts to ramp even more, into the supernatural world, not that it's Elena's fault, because it's not her fault what she's born to look like, but she is the direct reason that they become involved in any of the Klaus situation, in a whole slew of the things that they do end up getting involved into. So, at a certain point, it is no longer Elena's choice to be involved or not. But at this point, it is her choice, and she chose to kind of step away from it. We'll see how that pays off in the next episode.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work, but she tries her best, unfortunately.
Yeah. So for now, in the in memoriam section, of course, we have Stefan and Elena's relationship.
Of course.
That's dead for like a minute.
Yeah.
The 3 bodies, Vicky's friends, the locals,
Mm-hmm.
they're unnamed, killed by Damon.
Of course.
And Vicky, also killed by Damon. I think we're going to count people's first death before they become a vampire as a death.
It's a death, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real death. Perhaps the only real death, but
Yes.
for them. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everyone. Oh,
One more.
and yeah, one more. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Yes, and then of course, Logan is killed by
Also
Damon.
Yeah.
We'll debate this more in the next episode.
We've already debated it for about 10 minutes off camera.
Yes.
Because we're a little unclear as to the timeline and plot going on here.
Yes.
Again, more will be revealed in the following episodes, and there'll be much more to debate with what's going on with Logan. But I do think we can say in this episode, he's died.
He's dead, yeah. And Damon killed him. I think I'm comfortable saying that.
Yeah, I think it's Damon. Every death thus far has been Damon, so we might as well keep it that way.
Yeah, that's true. Consistency.
Might as well.
Consistency.
Why not?
Yeah, true. So yeah, I think those are all of the deaths. May they rest in peace.
Yeah, always a great transition to our out-of-pocket moment.
Yes.
Because I also, again, kind of debate just nominating Damon for
pretty
killing
much
people.
every episode, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I debated that last time, I think, as well, of him killing somebody was his out-of-pocket moment. And that's kind of how it feels this time, too, where it's like everything he does to Vicky is fairly out-of-pocket.
Yeah.
But for me, actually, I think my nomination is Stefan, like, lying to Elena and being like, she was so beautiful. She looks nothing like you, though.
Yes.
Like,
okay.
shady.
Same brain. That was almost my exact same thought process. I was thinking the way Damon just casually kills Vicky, that could have been my out-of-pocket moment.
Yeah.
But I think that's even less out-of-pocket than Stefan just not saying that they look exactly alike. Even if he doesn't know all the doppelganger terminology, whatever.
Yeah. He still
should say something.
He still talks about what Katherine looks like and just conveniently doesn't mention, just look in the mirror, Elena, then you'll know
Then
what
you'll
Katherine
see
looks
what
like.
she looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's out of pocket. The Damon thing is almost so bad that it's not out of pocket. It's just a bad thing to do.
Yes.
Stefan is out of pocket for just being like, here's what Katherine looks like without somehow mentioning that you look exactly like her. Yeah. So, Stefan Salvatore, winner of most out of pocket moment of this episode.
I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm good with that. And for best quote, I do think a Stefan quote is my honorable mention, but I do have a favorite that I really like. I think my honorable mention is one you already mentioned, the Salvatore brothers, the best of friends.
I debated that one.
I really just love that.
I love
just
that
like
one.
it. And it sets a good tone. And it really, you see the highs and lows of their relationship. And that's a good way to show that.
Yeah.
But I think my clear winner is when Katherine says, forever is a long time, you know.
Oh.
When they're in the flashback, of course.
I didn't even really catch that one. Yeah. That's a good one.
I like that one.
I went with my usual choice, which is just a
Damon.
a snarky Damon moment.
A one-liner.
Which actually it's not even a Damon one-liner. I wrote down a couple of them, and then I actually went with a Vicky line that she says to Damon, which is, why don't you have a girlfriend? You're like totally cool and super hot.
Okay, I love that.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, she's right. Why doesn't he have a girlfriend?
Right. Yeah, I mean, he kind of does. He's still waiting for Kat.
She's just been in a tomb for 140 years, but he has a girl.
Yeah, so I'm good with that. I like that one. Let's do that.
I like how you chose both sentimental, beautiful, like, representational quotes, and I was like, Damon's hot. That's the quote.
I mean, that is the ultimate truth. That's the truth we can always come back to, is that Damon's really hot.
That's true, yeah.
I'm good with that. Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
hot.
Perfect.
Damon's hot and
Damon's
super
hot
cool.
And cool.
Yeah.
And he should have a girlfriend, and it should be me.
But this is a good transition into our song of the episode. I have a clear winner. I do have an honorable mention as well.
I have the same, and I think we're going to align.
Okay,
so
I hope so. Because sometimes we say that and we're different.
That's true.
So we'll see. My honorable mention is Down by Jason Walker. Is that your winner?
That's my winner.
Why does this always happen? That's my honorable mention.
Yeah, I think I think I'm just going with the sentimental choices here.
Yeah, sentimental
I was thinking
episode
that's more of like I don't know. I think I just really like the flashbacks. They really get me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my that was my clear winner. And then, of course, my honorable mention is the party song. What is it? It's
Enjoy the Silence. It's a cover by Amber Lynn.
Yes.
I love that song.
I do really love that song.
When this episode came out in 2009, I became so obsessed with that song and listened to it constantly.
Yeah.
And I love that song. It made me feel like I was such a cool kid at 13.
Yes.
I was listening to
I have such elite taste.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And of course that scene is just amazing of Vicki and Damon having their dance party just all over the house. Whereas Down by Jason Walker, I do really love that song, and that's another song I used to listen to all the time, specifically as a Vampire Diaries song. Mm-hmm. But that's when Elena is breaking up with Stefan.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, so it's the battle of the two vibes of Vampire Diaries.
It definitely is. The sad or the partying
the sad or the
vampire.
High key. Yeah, where do we go?
We haven't really set a specific criteria, but I'm kind of inclined to go with Enjoy the Silence just because I like the song better. It's a better vibe.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a better scene of the episode. Oh, you know?
I already said, it's one of my favorite scenes of the season, I think.
Just imagine if you said to someone I love the song that plays when Stefan and Elena break up. Which time? Which time?
That's true. That's true.
Which one?
That's true.
I like the scene when Damon and
dancing on the ledge of his
he does
room.
Dance a lot.
He does dance
but
a
yes,
lot.
the party scene in the house with Vicki recalls a very specific scene and moment.
It does.
So I think the song of the episode is Enjoy the Silence.
I think so.
So good.
I'm willing to do it. We can go with the non-sentimental choices.
Yes, my favorites are always the party ones, so I will always be pushing for those.
Love it. I'm good with that.
I think that's our song of the episode.
I think so.
We've got all of our various winners of the episode, which means we've come to the end of Season 1, Episode 6, Lost Girls.
Yes. Next week, we're doing Season 1, Episode 7, Haunted. There, we'll talk more about Logan.
And Halloween!
Yes,
I love Halloween.
I do love a good Halloween episode of pretty much any show, but especially Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah,
so that to look forward to.
You also have to look forward to our TikTok and our Instagram. A really humble transition there.
Yes.
You can follow us at the Rippah Diaries podcast on either of those, or you can listen to this podcast if you're not already on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you can watch the video version on YouTube. I think that's all of our socials and everything else. Yeah. So
that was hope a clean
we see it. Yeah, it's always a struggle every time, honestly.
Every time.
But anyway, thank you for watching or listening to this one, and we hope we see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.